So getting great things done, we need to do it together, right? It requires people. Eduardo, you said it so beautifully this morning. Magic happens when we bring people together. And organizational excellence is an aggregate of people getting together, working out problems. And today's problems are challenges in the organizations. They are just too difficult, too complex for us to be able to solve them alone.
The good news is that when we involve and engage people by understanding together, planning together, validating together, and reflecting together, we create an environment where people feel valued, where they have influence, where they're able to focus and innovate, where they feel ownership. Today, we want to talk about how involving and engaging people by understanding together, planning together, validating together, and reflecting together is enabling our organizations to get great things done.
All right, so we're going to start with understand together. Now, before I get into this, together, what do we mean by together? So we don't mean like ball.com with, I don't know how many employees, Eduardo, all together at once, unless there's something that makes sense to do that. What we mean with together is you get the right people in the room. So those 60 people that Eduardo showed on the photo, tech and product, customer, inside, all together talking about what are the challenges we're facing, what are the problems we want to solve, how can we do that together. So depending on what the challenge is, what the issue is, what the problem is, you bring a broad group of people so you get those diverse perspectives. So it's not just a single team trying to figure something out. We need to involve our customers. We need to involve management, maybe, I don't know. So depending on what it is you're solving, we need to think bigger in terms of getting those diverse perspectives. Otherwise, we don't get to innovation. So that was my little disclaimer about together. So understand together. What do you see here? Anybody? What is this?
A door?
Yeah.
There's a price?
Okay. All right. It's a door, yeah. Some lines on a little Post-it. How about that one? What's that one? Yeah, it's upside. Nah. Okay. And what's that?
Here's a price.
That's a door too? Yeah, okay. How about that one? What is that? Basketball? It's another door. It's a fancy door. Okay. And this is a different part of a door. What kind of doors are we making here? How about that one? Same door. We're not sure. All right, what are we making? Do we know what the house looks like? So why do we start this way, right? In a lot of organizations, we start with having our little, I don't know, team silos, product silos, whatever. We're working on our own little piece, but this is only shared on a need-to-know basis, right? The cascading information down. Somebody at the top, maybe, has a view of what this should look like, perhaps, and then we each get our own little piece to work on, hoping that we have the overview. Except usually we don't. That may be that middle ground, right? We don't necessarily have this view. So what if we started with this view by understanding together, bringing people together so we can understand this is the house we're making. And maybe, what's the first iteration of our house? So a lot of times we get a little pushback on this understanding together. Oh, but Jenny, it takes so much time. All those man hours bringing people together to understand. 60 people in a full day workshop? Do you know how much that costs? Yeah. And what about the alternative? So this first view here, right? What's actually most time consuming? Is it bringing people together? Or is it answering all those questions along the way because people don't know we're building a house? They only see their little roof, and maybe they don't even see a roof. They just see a diagonal line and have no idea how this fits together. So the frustration that goes with this, talking about sustainability and happiness in an organization, right? Versus the other side here, the right side, same amount of time, we bring people together so we can understand together what it is that we want to do. And people feel involved. They have influence. They feel motivated, happy. Of course, there might be a few questions that pop up along the way. But the second way is a much smarter, common sense way of working. So, and if you want numbers, let me know. We've got the numbers. All right, and I'm bringing up kind of an also here. So what can we understand? So the understanding together, we can be as smart as can be. There are some things we're just never going to figure out up front. So we need to be aware that we need to understand just enough to get going and then test, right? Experiment, try things, learn, and then make those decisions together about what to move forward with or not. So we can't understand everything up front. And those complex challenges that organizations are facing today, we need to do something to find out. All right. So how do we do that? How do we do this in an efficient way, this understanding together? How do we create clarity and ownership in the process? A way to do that is to take advantage of your facilitation skills, right? We're all here at Agile Tour Vienna. So facilitation is an extremely useful skill for us to bring people together in an efficient, effective way. So we create clarity by presenting the challenge, problem, issue, whatever it is that we want to solve. We open it up, involving and engaging people in the process, brainstorming ideas, discussing those ideas, coming to decisions, and coming to a result. And it's in that process that we push the authority to make those decisions to the people who are closest to the information. And we get a result that creates ownership in the organization, ownership with the people, overcoming maybe that middle ground. So facilitation is a way that we can create clarity, push authority to the people who have the information, and ownership.
When you plan, you are in control. When they plan, they are in control. So as leaders at every level, and we claim that leadership is a choice, that no matter whether you are, to your point, Eduardo, an architect or a scrum master or a product owner or a member of a team who's been there for a while, you can sort of step up and think about this. Now I choose to lead something. I choose to be a leader. Leaders at every level. So we believe that leaders at every level should share their feeling of being in control by involving and engaging people in planning together. Unlike the bank, the large Danish bank I worked with a few years ago, they were in big trouble because one of their top 3 customers, we're talking like organizations the size of the Danish government or Maersk Lines, and they wouldn't tell who it was, but I have my beliefs about who that might have been. So this Danish bank was about to lose one of their top 3 customers. So they got together, started talking about maybe we should do something. They being top management, right? The board of directors. And they set out on a journey to significantly change the way we interact with our customers. Significantly change. So that was a good sort of little silo lying down, if you will, a layer in the organization who knew exactly what we needed to do, significantly change. And then the program management a little further down, they got Chris in, and he was like super powerful, experienced program manager. So he made some roadmaps to meet that goal of significantly change, etc. And then he funneled that down. So there was a strategic plan, there was a sort of a program level plan, and then they got some teams together, around 50 or so people. And the teams, they each made a plan. It was amazing. There were a lot of plans. And that was when I met them. At this point in time, I asked, so how's it going? And they were like, oh. And that was about a year into that journey. And they had done a few deliveries, nothing significantly changing really anything. So I asked them if they would be willing for a little experiment. So I gave them some cards. A lot of people got some of these index cards, and I said, so could we have all these plans? It's fine. Let's put them on the wall, on the tables. But now, on those index cards, would you please, all of you, and this was not all 50 people, but spokespeople for all of the board of directors and the program management and each of the teams and some of the customers. Could you please just brainstorm everything you think we need to do? Small things, big things. Important things, less important things. Things that are urgent and other things. So we had a huge amount of, I think, like 200-300 of those ideas on a big table. I got them to sort of try to find out, to organize some deliverables in there, some epics or some potential releases. And people were sweating, and they were like working. And they were like, so we had an epic communication. Is that a deliverable? Maybe not. So we worked and worked. And at some point, we had to have a break, and I went out for coffee, and I came back in. And I see Kasper, one of the program managers, the product managers. This guy, Kasper, was spending half of his time working with those big clients big customers of the bank, and the other time in programs like this to try to find out how to significantly change the way that we interact with our customers. When I came back with my coffee in my hand, I was like, whoa! He's in a corner yelling at a group of people. You don't get it! This is all wrong. We're headed towards the edge of something. And I was like, whoa, Kasper, can we go for a little walk? I think we need to get the pulse down a little bit. So tell me, what is it? And Kasper had been on this program for the whole year, but it was in this moment, this together moment, that he realized that what the program had been working on was to record the past. Every interaction with a customer, every email, every phone call, every, you name it, meeting, everything, we had everything under control. We had everything on record. So we were really good at looking at the past together with the customers. And in this moment, he realized that the customer that had talked about leaving the Danish bank was interested in for us to be a partner in looking into the future. And that was what he was yelling about. Nobody got what he what he meant because he was so upset. And then I was like, okay, this is a super important moment in the life of this program, maybe in the life of the bank. So back to square one, new index cards, new brainstorming, new grouping. And we ended up having some epics, some potential deliverables. And I think we had like 20, 25 epics or so on a table, all handwritten. And then Kasper suddenly said, I need this. And he grabbed it all, ran out the door, and we're gone for a couple of days. I'm like, oh no, now what? Is he now talking to the board of what's happening here? And he came back, and he said, and he brought champagne. He said, I showed this to this customer of ours that were talking about leaving the bank. They had conversations with one of the other large Danish banks. And they just told me, after seeing this, it was like handwritten stuff. Now we know that you got it. You want to help us as a partner into the future, understanding our organization, who the leaders are, who can make which decisions. Thank you. And we drank champagne. And the customer stayed. Speaking of business value in the program. And after a couple of weeks, this program received a prize from the board of directors for their ways of working, and they're still continuously receiving prizes now. So it was a fun journey to be a part of. And it was all because they were starting by understanding with the little cards together and planning together. So before there was a plan at the strategic level, and there was a plan, Chris and his couple of people around here, there was a plan, etc. So there were all sort of plans. So there were plans. But we want to go from plans to planning. That's common knowledge, I think, but not so many people sort of live it. So what did they do? What did they look like? It looks somewhat like this. After having all those index cards out and having that conversation at the table and Casper like going berserk and all that. So it looks somewhat like this. So this is the step from having plans in the organization to planning together in the organization. So you see how suddenly there's overlap. It's not like isolated to the board of directors to do some planning. They do it a few levels up and down. And there's a lot of conversation. So we go from planning being artifacts to plan being conversations where we understand and plan together. The couple of things that we need to be aware of when we are planning together. One is that it makes a lot of sense to make a plan that looks fairly far out into the future, so we have time going out and we have details going down, if you will, so a few details at the top and more details at the bottom. One of the things that we want to do, and that what they did in the customer relationship management program that I just talked about, was they created that long-term, high-level plan, and that was where Casper had his epiphany, like, whoa, now I see what the issue is. So we want to do a long and thin planning that gives us meaning. That could look like 20 epics with a headline and a one-sentence description, and that's it. That's enough. People are in pain because they're not allowed this moment to put in all the details, but it gives an overview that sometimes gives some really big aha moments. Another thing to keep in mind is that when we have the long and thin plan that creates meaning for stakeholders, board of directors, customers, apparently, we want to do a short and fat plan. Some know this as big room planning or PI planning, getting a lot of people together, 150, 200 people, maybe 100 people together. But not with all those people try to look a year out in the future, maybe 3 months out into the future, but with more detail. And then the shorter and fatter, for now we need to know who's doing what. Not just like the overall picture, the benefits that we're trying to achieve, but who's doing what are the actual actions. And that's a shorter and fatter plan. And many knows that as sprint planning or the equivalent. So some things to keep in mind when we are planning. The last thing that I want to say about planning together to keep in mind is when you plan, you're in control. When they plan, you share that. They are in control.
All right, so the third principle is validate together. So I too worked for a large Scandinavian bank, not the same one, with headquarters in Helsinki, and I was working with line management to help the teams be able to deliver faster, better quality value for the customers. And so I was in Helsinki with one of the feature teams, and there was kind of a bitch session, really. And they were complaining about their stakeholders, their customers, who never, ever come to their demo and feedback session. Never. They never get any feedback from their customers. So how can they know what to do? So I listened. I said, so, and they were making products for people working in the branch offices of the bank to use. So I said, are there any branch locations here in the city? There was a branch location on every corner in Helsinki for this bank at that time. And they just looked at me like, oh, stupid American blonde woman. They're like, well, yeah, Jenny, yeah. I said, so what's stopping you from going in and asking them? Oh, can we do that? That's not a demo and feedback session. That's not an iteration review. I'm like, yeah, no. Actually, it wasn't safe back then. That was a while ago. No, we need to show our stuff to know, right? And if we don't show it, we don't get the feedback that we need. So how can we know what to do next, right? So we see, we've kind of categorized these types of demo and feedback sessions or iteration reviews, basically where the teams are showing stuff or not showing them. So the first kind is, hey, we're making something and our customers don't understand this. Our stakeholders don't even know anything about this. So no. And they're so busy, we skip the demo. We don't need that. We'll demo to each other in the team. Yeah. So basically that is, waterfall with a slight pause to say, no, we're not gonna show anything, and then we keep going. So no feedback. The second kind is what we see the most often. It's what we call the Q&A. So maybe somebody in the team is showing something to one of the stakeholders, and the stakeholder says, yeah, why is that green button there? And then the team member, or maybe a product owner, says, well, that was in the requirements. Oh, okay. Why are there so many fields that need to be filled out on this page? Compliance. Okay. Right? So we stop essentially the conversation. We're not getting the actual feedback we need to validate, to know if we're on the right path. So the third kind is the kind that we want in agile ways of working, where we show something and we ask an open question. What do you think? What are you thinking when you press this little button here? And then they tell you, well, I don't like the green button. Say more about that. Okay, well, maybe it's not about the green button. Maybe, actually, I don't really like the layout on the page. Nah, so say more about the layout. What are you thinking there? Right, so we're getting that feedback. We're going deeper by asking those open questions. The problem is that when we show something, especially early, it's not perfect. We're on this continuum. It feels scary. And this continuum sort of explains what happens in the brain. So especially the early stuff. And if you're a perfectionist like me, I hate showing like my shitty first draft of anything. Whatever that, it's just like, oh, now I'm like the cat on the back. Danger, danger, danger. Survival mechanisms activated. I'm gonna look stupid because they think I don't know what I'm doing. Why would I show them this piece of crap? Right? And then they start, what I hear in my brain, attacking it, and then I go on the defensive. If we can stop ourselves from doing that in our validation sessions and open us up to that pain, if you will, and move over to the reward side of our brain, this is where our rational thinking is activated, where we're open and curious and interested, This is where we can be in our demo and feedback sessions by shutting up and just asking open questions and not defending what it is we're doing. Because you know what? It could be they don't know what they're talking about, right? It doesn't matter. There might be some little nugget in there that you can actually use if you keep yourselves open. So my little tool is my favorite phrase is, say more about that. And then, thank you for your feedback. And also, if you're making a shift to doing it in this way with these open questions and just listening, sometimes it freaks the stakeholders or your customers out. They're like, what happened to my Q&A? What's going on here? Why is she saying, say more about that? I don't know what to say. So remember facilitation. Sometimes, depending on who you have together, you might have to get out your Post-its or put up your Miro board or whatever to get the feedback that you need. And also remember, it doesn't have to happen. Oh, I'm going to be struck by the agile gods. Doesn't have to happen in a demo and feedback session or an iteration review. You need the feedback, so go get it, right? So that's how we validate our products. So this combination of pain that we sometimes feel when we show stuff, and then being able to take all that feedback back and reflect on it, and then make decisions about what to do next, that's how we get progress. That's the learning, right? That is how we get better stuff. So the process here, because again, it's not so easy. We need to ask our customers, a diverse group of customers, not our teammates, because they're too close to it. Right? We need to ask a variety of people to get their perspectives on here and really just open questions. What do you like? What don't you like? Say more about that. Thank you for your feedback. We're going to come back to you and let you know what we're going to do going forward. So you gather all that feedback, you go back in the team, and it could be that you need to involve business owners or other people in the decision making, but you take a look at the information that you got in your demo and feedback session, and you make some choices. And when you choose what you want to do, you are in control, right? The team is in control about how. That's what we want. How do we make things better? The team decides this. And then whatever the team decides to use, we need to communicate. So the stakeholders or customers know what they're going to see in the next demo. This is what we've chosen to take in. This is why. So you have that togetherness all through this process. Yeah.
So we're agile, right? We inspect and adapt about the way we're working, who we are, really, right? Who in here is an agile coach? Half, 1/3. What is that with all the agile coaches? I mean, inspecting and adapting, is that something we say we do, or are we actually doing it? All us agile coaches, why are we here? I mean, shouldn't we, years and years ago, we've been around for like 10, 15, 20 years or something.
No, that's only you.
Yeah. When are we done getting this behavior of inspecting and adapting into the DNA of our teams and our companies? I mean, and the number of agile coaches is only growing. I never had a waterfall coach. I mean, what is this? So, and we have all these tools and techniques and retrospective books and, and we keep doing it. I'm trying to think about this as, that there's some issues. There's some big problems that we have when we're trying to reflect, inspect, and adapt. One is that we're not specific enough. So we could, to your point, Jenny, you're talking about the demos. We have an action item that we put on our board and we say we want to have better demos. what does that, I mean, how? So in order for that to be more specific, it could be that we set at least try to be a little more specific, saying something like, we want at least 2 of our key stakeholders to be present at the demos, and we want them to speak at least 30% of the time. We want at least like 3 ideas from each of them as input, that we not just like answer their questions, but actually record something and take it seriously and ask curious questions. So we're not, many of us are not specific enough. So that's one issue I see with inspecting and adapting and reflecting. Another is that we want to change things that are outside our span of control. So it could be that I'm a team member, we have too many bugs sort of going through the system, so we should have more testers, right? Let's get some more testers. For me, as a team member, it's outside of my span of control. So what could we do instead? Maybe we could agree on the team that some of us, or more of us, do more testing. So that's within our span of control. So we could just agree that we spend some more time, and the 2 superhero testers, they show the rest of us how to do it, and then we do more testing to put the effort where the issues are. So that's another issue I see with how we reflect or inspect and adapt, or not really have some behavioral change out of that. And the third and last one is, I don't think we're ambitious enough. I worked with a team, they were I think the best, most professional Scrum team I've ever met. They, anything in the Scrum guide, you could look it up, you could check it off, they did everything. Their velocity measures, I mean, it was a dream to look at. They had it up on a screen so you could see it, except when the business came by, they just turned that off. So they were super ambitious on how they worked as a Scrum team. There was only one little problem. They didn't deliver anything. I mean, they were building a lot of stuff, but the business, that was what Jenni talked about, they don't have time, and they don't come to our demos, and their product people need to understand that they need to come here and understand what this product is so that we can get it out and in the hands of the customers, but they're not showing up. So it was amazing. Let's keep working on the product. Let's make it better based on what we think we know about the customers. So I end up saying to them one day, so if we should point to one person who has the issue, who is that? Oh, but that would be Flemming, he's head of retail or something. So I camped outside of Flemming's office for 3 working days. I just sat there on a chair right outside his office, and the first day he came by and said, and after, I think day 2, he was like, who are you? And then the last day I found out from some of his people that he would relocate from this office to an office like a kilometer down the street, and he was usually walking. So I was like, okay. I just walked next to him. I thought he was actually biking that day, so I ended up running next to him, trying to find out why don't we talk to each other. And after that, we solved some things. And if asking for feedback on your product feels like threatening, we're afraid of looking bad, then asking for feedback on how we work is much closer to who we are. That's scary. So we need to overcome that. I work at the moment a large company in Gothenburg. We did a big room planning a couple of weeks ago. I had the idea to ask all the Epic owners of the 20 Epics, do you feel that you have the handshakes that you need from all of the teams? This is like 30, 40 teams organization. We burn about €1 million per week, so the odds are up there. And so I had this idea that I would ask each of the Epic owners, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel that you have the handshake that you need to, to work your plan? And for the top 5 Epics, I got a no. And I was like, first my sort of survival mechanism goes, oh, it's good to know. now we found out, and before this we didn't know, so it was better to know. But of course it hits me right after that I am a big failure. I'm the sort of this STE of this whole, that's the role I play. So it's all on me. And the next day, the whole management team is getting together, and we have sort of a casual conversation. How did this all go? There was no blaming. It was super, sweet. And now you okay, Ole? After I made this big mistake, and a couple of days later, the head of digital, Jonas, an amazing fellow, he said, "Can I come to your hotel, and we can have breakfast together?" I was like, "Okay, I'm doomed." Except I was also curious, because Jonas started by asking me, psychological safety, how are you, Ole? Not like starting with ambitions that, of course, we should have some more technos. How are you, Ole? And then after making sure that I was not close to breaking, he was like, so performance standards, what are we learning from this? How can I help? What can we do together so that next time or in the upcoming weeks that we get a better result? And of course, right now we're working on that super hard. So one of the things we want to do when we are reflecting together is to have, psychological safety. This is Amy Edmondson's work, by the way. If you don't know it, it's amazing. This book, The Fearless Organization, is beautiful. Her latest book that just came out is called The Right Kind of Wrong, How We Learn from Our Mistakes. So if we both have high performance standards and psychological safety, we get to a place of learning and high performance, rather than the other boxes where we don't really want to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.